Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me. We have a very important show for you today. I think it's going to be magnificent. It's just going to be me and you. I apologize for the 30-minute delay, but these guys had some things they needed to gather together for me today for this presentation. I would speculate today's show will be 90 minutes, could be 2 hours. I have a lot to unpack. I feel like I have a very important message, so that I hope you stuck around for the 30-minute delay, and I hope that you share this with your friends, families, with your allies, with your enemies, with anybody concerned about what's going on in American culture, what's going on with race relations in American culture. I'm going to use the conflict, the tragedy in Frisco, Texas, with Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony to expound on what I think is going on in America, how paid actors, agitators, plants are using this situation, trying to trigger us into a massive conflict. And so in part of my unpacking of this, I'm going to address Nick Fuentes and the things he said about me on his show yesterday, put that to bed. I have some bigger picture points that I want to unpack along the way. And so I'm going to start with my vision prediction of what they're trying to pull off with this conflict and how they're using Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony, the aftermath of that, what they're trying to pull off with that. I'll start there. Then I'll eventually get to Nick Fuentes, and then I'll get to all the other MK Ultras and other people that are being used. Stick with me and share this today, because I think it's very important. And I'll just stop there for the moment. I've given you a preview of what we're going to do. Before I get into it, I want to thank our friends at Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally, developed by doctors. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily. It helps reduce or eliminate pain by reducing your inflammation. The longer you take it, the more effective it is. Wherever you're having pain every day, you feel better. It's a better way to live. Try Relief Factor's 3-week quick start today. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF, or visit relieffactor.com. You guys know how I feel about Relief Factor, and I'll probably mention them again later in the show. But I want to get into today's show, and I want to start with what I believe is the inevitability of a conflict that the establishment seems to be promoting. That the establishment wants a racial conflict, and it feels inevitable. And when you're someone like me, and your life has been dedicated to bringing the races together, trying to explain to black and white people that we got far more in common, particularly working class. And yes, I know that, my life and my career, I don't think anybody called me working class, but my worldview and my perspective completely shaped by working class. Both my parents were factory workers at some point. My mother, a factory worker for 30 years. My dad, a factory worker until he went into business for himself and built a business around catering to factory workers and working class Americans. It was people with manufacturing jobs, people that worked at the post office, all in the black community. My worldview is working class. And I have been, and having been around black working class, white working class, I see the common ground that they all share. They can't see it amongst each other, but I can see it. And anybody that's not blinded can see it. And so a lot of people are blinded. And so this inevitable feeling of like the establishment is looking for opportunities to pit black and white against each other and reduce their worldview to black and white. And in order to reduce someone's worldview to black and white, for them to believe, hey, that we're in a black-white racial conflict, you have to disconnect them from a biblical worldview. And you have to disconnect them from a biblical worldview while they think they have a biblical worldview, while they think they're connected to Christ and they're connected to the true church. And many people have been convinced of that they ignore the Bible and think, hey, you know what really rules the world? A black and white conflict. And so we saw it with George Floyd in 2020, where black people were fed a video in the last 8-9 minutes of George Floyd's life and said, look at this video. That explains everything about America. That explains everything about white people in America. That explains America. This 9 minutes of George Floyd. But when you zoom out and you get the full picture of George Floyd, if they had shown you the last hour of George Floyd's life, you might have a different perspective. But they reduced it to 8 or 9 minutes and said, that's it. That's all you need to know. And people had a gut level reaction. There's no one on day one that could watch that 8-9 minute video and not have oh, that's terrible. Look what happened to this tall black man. And look at people screaming at the police. He's saying he can't breathe, blah, blah, blah. You can't have, you were triggered. And then once you commit to a narrative, then it's much harder to get you to look at the full picture. Well, those of us that have a commitment to truth and a commitment to like, no, I want to understand the whole picture, and then I'll react. And there are some of us out there in America willing to do that, and it becomes crystal clear. If you just, let's look at the last hour of George Floyd's life. Well, here he is trying to pass off counterfeit money at a convenience store or a drugstore or wherever he was at. Oh, here he is for 20 straight minutes resisting police and coming up with every excuse in the world not to be cooperative with police. Oh, here he is in the back of the car pretending that he's claustrophobic and he can't sit back there. Oh, here he is saying, I can't breathe before he's even on the ground. Oh, here he is asking to be placed on the ground. Once you see that, then your perspective starts to change. You go, hey man, all you had to do was cooperate with the police and the last 9 minutes would have never happened. You've been handcuffed and put in the back of a police car before, and you've made it down to jail, the booking station or whatever. This isn't your first rodeo with getting handcuffed and put in the back of a police car. I hate to go straight to humor and self-deprecating humor, but it's just the way my mind works. It's like me getting in a fast food drive-through and acting like I've never been here before. Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm at a drive-through window. This is my first time. I don't know how to order a double filet of fish sandwich, a double cheeseburger, a large order of fries, and then leave the McDonald's drive-thru and go get a Frosty from Wendy's. I've never done that. And then someone goes and looks at my history and sees me step on the scale and says, oh, no, he's done this plenty of times. Why is he pretending like he can't do it this time? it. So they take a video and they trigger you. And I think now on the other side of George Floyd, when people are now being honest and they just don't look at the last hour, they go find out, well, hold on, a year before, Minneapolis police went through the exact same thing with George Floyd, taking too much drugs, resisted arrest, had a conflict with the police. They rush him to the hospital. They save him, this time from the drug overdose. But in 2020, they couldn't save him because he kept repeating the same activity. And so it's just like, if I continued, and I haven't been in a fast food drive-thru in about 3 years, but if I repeatedly keep overdosing on fast food and other foods, no one's going to be shocked. Oh, Whitlock died of a heart attack? Oh, it's not shocking. I just saw him at a fast food drive-thru 3 hours ago. There's no, you continue to use drugs, bicker and argue with the police. Anybody with a brain, hey, that's not going to end well. And so George Floyd's life did not end well, but everybody reduced it to the last 8-9 minutes of his life, triggered, got emotional, and America went through great racial upheaval. The newspapers call it a reckoning. Most of us call it looting, violence, arson, stupidity is what America went through. And the establishment now wants that to happen on the white side. And they know that on the white side, it won't turn to looting and arson. White people aren't going to burn up their neighborhoods. They're not going to burn up buildings where they work or where they shop. But they are trying to trigger a reaction. And I'm not arguing that the Carmelo Anthony, Austin Metcalf tragedy was some pre-planned event or orchestrated event. Nope, that's not what I'm arguing, have not argued. But the way the aftermath is being managed, yeah, I'm saying that's not organic. This is intentional. They're trying to stir up as much racial division as possible to spark a reaction. This time, 5 years later, they had their reaction from black people. Now they're trying to spark a reaction from white people. And so my feeling is, watching this thing play out, the way that people are pretending, black influencers who take paychecks for influencing people the right direction, the direction the establishment wants them to go. They're out all over social media pretending like Austin Metcalf got what he deserved, and that Carmelo Anthony was just defending himself, and that Austin Metcalf, 17-year-old kid, when another 17-year-old kid sits in a place where he's not supposed to be, Austin Metcalf should have known. Go get an adult. Go be a snitch. Go squeal on this other kid. It's too dangerous for you to ask another 17-year-old to remove himself from a place where he doesn't belong. Austin Metcalf should have known that. And he should have never touched another 17-year-old kid. And so I'm looking at people make this argument, and then I'm looking at GoFundMe's and send something, some kind of send deal where it's just like GoFundMe, send, pray, go. I don't know what it's called. But I'm looking at the dollar amounts being raised for Carmelo Anthony. And people, in my view, are jumping to the wrong conclusions to some degree. That look at all the money black people are sending in support of Carmelo Anthony. And I'm like, whoa, let's pump the brakes here. This kid done raised $300,000, or his family has raised $300,000. And I'm like, and you think this is primarily black people? Give, send, go. You think this is primarily black people? I'm like, now you got to keep your story straight. You talking about, let's talk about stereotypes and generalizations. You talking about people that will go to a restaurant, get 5-star treatment, and tip 5%, or not tip at all. And you think they've sent $300,000 to some dude that just committed murder? And I'm not saying that there's not some, maybe 50% of the donations are from black people. I don't know. But I'm not buying it that, oh, this is a great reflection of black people and what they think as it relates to the money that's been given. Yes, are black people rallying around Carmelo Anthony? Yes, I think in general you can say that. Are they sending money for his defense? Not without a check from George Soros. Not without a lot of white guilt liberals sending just as much, if not more. This is part of the managing of the aftermath. Let's make sure we get information and actions out there that trigger white people and make them believe, like, look at black people, they rally around. And so this can become a talking point that black people done sent $500,000 to Carmelo Anthony. You really buying that? Really buying that? I'm not. The puppet masters, the orchestrators of the black-white racial conflict, they've anteed up. Their NGOs have anteed up to create a narrative and a storyline about what's going on. And I'm making this argument not to exonerate or defend black people. I just want us all working on the same set of facts and a level of truth and honesty and transparency that's consistent with what we know and what we've seen. Who financed BLM? Corporate America. Corporate America. It wasn't Pookie and Ray Ray. It wasn't none of them. It wasn't LaQuisha or Boquisha. It was corporate America. Big white executives, big Jewish executives financed BLM. Those are facts. So let's enter that. And so what I'm walking you through is like, hey man, they're managing the aftermath of this, trying to trigger as much emotion as they can from white people, white men and women. And they're doing a good job. And then I'm about to play you a couple of clips here from, there was a press conference yesterday in Frisco, Texas, or in that area. It was held by something called Next Generation Action Network. I think, my suspicion is, this is some sort of offshoot from Al Sharpton's National Action Network that they called it, they're based in Dallas and they got offices there, where Next Generation Action Network. And they have some minister, I think his name's Dominique Alexander, has no real command of the English language, can't really conjugate subject and verb. Tip sounds a lot like Ben Crump, or, all these ministers that get put in front of these organizations struggle with the English language. It's amazing how all of them struggle with the basic English language. And so there's a certain level of ignorance you must have to have one of these jobs as the face of one of these organizations that runs out and offers up a vigorous defense of whatever black criminal is in the news and spotlight and can be used as a tool to promote racial division. And so Dominique Alexander showed up, held a press conference. He, in some way, is connected to Carmelo Anthony's family. He was somehow granted access or a meeting with police in the Frisco, Texas area. He's some sort of representation for the family. and he had this press conference, and mostly what he talked about was in his mind, the racism that the Carmelo Anthony family is experiencing. And so I want to play this clip from Dominique Alexander. I believe it's SOT number 1.
And the Next Generation Action Network wants to reiterate that Carmelo Anthony has a right to a fair trial, unbiased, and removed of racial hate and bigotry. I want to make it very clear, and I say this from my heart and my own personal reference. If someone wants to say race is not in this situation and shouldn't be, well, I asked all of those people to join me in calling it out. But don't look at black people and say, don't always play the race card. We don't play the race card, we live it. We live a reality. We also feel that the bond that Carmelo Anthony is on is too high.
So that's just a short clip of what he said, because he spent a lot of time, and there's nothing wrong with the clip you guys played. I want to be crystal clear. Great job, guys. But there's fuller context of him talking about Carmelo Anthony's parents and all of what they're going through, and how the social media harassment, and someone posted their address and they're making all these threats, and this is the racism that the Frisco police must stand up to, and we can't ignore it. We live the race card. We don't play the race card. And so that was the focus of his press conference of, oh, if you just knew what Carmelo Anthony's parents are going through and how much racism they're facing. I found this fascinating and interesting and telling, and I'm about to connect the dots. But I want to play one more clip where Dominique Alexander gives a few little details and clears up a little of the confusion and the bad information that's being posted over social media. I think that's in SOT number 2. Let's play that.
Okay, with the 75 people they say they interviewed, did they say anything about video was
Yes,
recording?
they have collected video.
So it is video of the incident?
Yes, they have collected video.
Okay.
There is video of the actual stabbing?
There is video, there are several different videos that they verified.
That's the critical part. What we did not play, and I slightly apologize, this is me not giving full instructions, but that is the critical part, that he's contending that there's video of the incident. But what he also cleared up was that, hey, there's been some information put out there about an autopsy report, and that autopsy is untrue. And so what he's saying is that stuff over social media where they were saying that Austin Metcalf, they had found drugs in his system, he's calling BS on that. And what he also called BS on was that there's these rumors that Austin Metcalf and Carmelo Anthony had met previously, or maybe had gotten in a fight the week before over a girl. And he came out and said, nope, they've never met, they didn't know each other. Anybody saying that is lying. And so he clears up 2 pieces of bad information that was trying to favor Carmelo Anthony. And then he insinuates that, hey, the police have video of the actual incident. And when I've read the entire police report, and there were several kids, witnesses that were there that had their phones taken. And so I'm looking at a man that held a press conference allegedly in support of Carmelo Anthony, but it was really in support of Carmelo Anthony's parents. They were saying, he was trying to say, I've told the police they need more police protection at their home. We need to do something to stop people from harassing them. This was a press conference about the parents. He offered no information in support of Carmelo Anthony. In fact, he cleared up like, hey, this stuff you're hearing about an autopsy, it's not true. Hey, this stuff that they had a fight the week before and he was being bullied, he basically, that ain't true either. I find those things interesting and telling, particularly when he admits. I want to play shot number 2 just over again so that, one, I'm crystal clear in what I heard, and this is like the 3rd or 4th time I've heard it, but I just want to be crystal clear. Let's play the second shot all over again.
Okay, with the 75 people they say they interviewed, did they say anything about video was
Yes,
recording?
they have collected video.
So it is video of the incident?
Yes, they have collected video.
Okay.
There is video of the actual stabbing?
There is video, there are several different videos that they verified.
Does that not sound clear as day? That he's insinuating there's direct video evidence of what transpired. And so he had just met with police that day. And you got to remember, Austin Metcalf was murdered on August 2nd. That's just 1 week ago. It feels like it was 2 weeks ago, but it was just 1 week ago today that he was killed. And so he and the family, I think, are just getting connected and talking to the police in a real way. I know this was his first meeting. Carmelo Anthony's parents, the way he's framed his entire press conference, were frustrated about the lack of communication they were getting from police. So what I think transpired, this is me as a journalist putting my instincts together and just my discernment together, is like he just found out that day or the day before, whenever he had that meeting, like, no, we got this thing on tape, bro. This self-defense deal that y'all talking about, not backed up by the video evidence. And so when he hears that and the family hears that, they go into backpedal mode. Hey, get out there and tell people we're being harassed, our lives are in jeopardy, we need more police protection. Why are they doing this? Get out there and say, hey, this bad information that's being floated out there about Austin Metcalf that's painting Carmelo as some kind of guy that did some sort of self-defense, hey, that's going to blow up in our face and probably create more hostility towards us, the parents. So let's put it out there. Let's put some clues out there so that when it all blows up, we can say, we were trying to tell y'all there was bad information out there. We weren't responsible for that. Look at what Dominique Alexander did. He went out and told you guys this was bad information. There's a backpedal going on. And the reason they're backpedaling, and this is what has me concerned, is that this video is going to be so bad, so grotesque, so unfair, and it's going to paint the people that have been running around trying to defend Carmelo Anthony in such a bad light that the same way the George Floyd video triggered black people and guilt-ridden white people into never again, draw a line in the sand, burn down every city, attack the police, blah, blah, that they're afraid that this Carmelo Anthony stabbing of Austin Metcalf is going to make white people say, never again, you idiots that defended him, you're so ridden with racism and blah, 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 that white people are going to have their line that they draw in the sand, their never forget moment, their thoughts of like, and they won't be thinking about a 45-year-old career criminal filled up on enough fentanyl to kill 12 horses, they're going to be thinking about a 17-year-old with a bright future, a committed Christian, a 3.97 grade point average, a Division I college football recruit who had his life cut short because some black kid has no emotional control. Some black kid has grown up in this culture that says anything he interprets as disrespect is justification for violence. And so as mad as you pretended to be, I'm not talking all of you, but a lot of you, as mad as you pretended to be about George Floyd, so that you could go into work and tell your bosses, give me a promotion to prove you're not racist. Give me a raise to prove you're not racist. Make sure that we have Popeye's chicken in here to celebrate Juneteenth. However, you used George Floyd in your pretending, and you were pretending. Quit lying. You were pretending. None of you would, if George Floyd crossed you on the street, if he rose from the grave right now and crossed you on the street, you'd step aside to the other side of the street. But you sat around and pretended like, oh man, I was going out on a blind date with George Floyd. My best friend had just set me up. If he hadn't got killed by Derek Chauvin, Lord, we were enrolling him in Harvard. You spend all of your life trying to make enough money to move away from George Floyd, but when he presented you an opportunity to nail yourself to a cross and get a promotion, some sort of opportunity at work, or just satisfy your need to make white people feel bad, you ran with it. And what the establishment wants is for white people to run with this. And people know it's coming. Dominique Alexander knows it's coming. Carmelo Anthony's family knows it's coming. And anyone with a brain knows it's coming. That's my read of where all this is going. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe that video will show Austin Metcalf assaulting Carmelo Anthony within an inch of his life. And he had no choice but to dig a knife out of his backpack while being brutally beaten and stab this kid in the heart. Maybe that's what it'll show. But I doubt it. And trust me, if I'm wrong, I'll come on this show and I'll admit that I'm wrong. And I will backpedal and run away from all of it. I'll repent. I'll admit that I'm wrong and say, hey, I ain't right all the time. But that's where this is headed. And they want to use this to trigger the right group of idiots to turn idiot, not turn, they're idiots, they don't need to turn idiot, the right group of idiots to behave the way Black Lives Matter, them paid people, Antifa and all them, they want to trigger that out of the right group of idiots on the white side of this conflict. This racial conflict feels inevitable, and it has broken my heart, and I say that in all sincerity. My life has been dedicated trying to bring us together, trying us to see the common ground. Everything we're doing here at Fearless, everything we do with Roll Call, it's about bringing us together based on our shared values, our belief in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. That's why I'm doing Roll Call. And this inevitability that I feel has shaken me to my core, because I'm sitting and looking around like, I think America is giving up on racial harmony. And I really do. And I understand why you would want to give up. But we shouldn't give up. But I understand the feeling. I was born into a country and into a culture. While not perfect, we were all pushing forward, all looking for shared values, all looking for a society that judged people on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. And we've completely pivoted away from that. And it has broken my heart. And it's like, what have I been doing with my life? And I'm not in any way trying to put myself as some sort of victim. But when you as a kid have it cross through your brain like, hey, you're supposed to be somebody that helps America understand itself better and understand the value in each other better. And that's, you ride that wave as people, because I was a part of a high school and that had busing of black kids into the school system. And I was the kid, the captain of the football team, other than Jeff George, the best athlete at my high school. A kid with a big personality, a kid that had longtime white friends, longtime black friends, and I was the glue. When they had busing into my school, I was the glue that brought the kids together. And we had a great high school football team, ranked number 9 in the nation. We achieved some great things together. And was it perfect? No. It was not perfect. It was rough. But we all thought we were fighting for the same thing. And we all thought things would only get better and better and better. And now I've lived to the point where I'm like, this is getting worse and worse and worse. This racial conflict feels inevitable. And one of the main reasons I'm doing roll call, one of the main reasons I've asked Tucker Carlson to come join me and elevate the visibility of this thing is because I want us to stand as a symbol, all of us, as a symbol of like, don't give up. This is not inevitable. This is not where God wants us to go. And I feel that commitment so much, and I want roll call to be such a success, and I want us to be a symbol out here that we're not giving up. That I'm doing everything in my power to make roll call an amazing event and an amazing symbol and fill people with energy and purpose and inspiration. And I'm almost to the point, I want as many of you to attend as possible. I'm offering you a chance over the next 24 hours. You can get tickets to roll call for half price. Use the promo code 997, half price. I just want you there. And I'm going to explain here in a second where Nick Fuentes fits into all of this and why I'm having this discussion today, because the white people that the establishment are trying to trigger, many of them are following Nick Fuentes as he leads you straight to hell. And I'm going to address that next. I'm going to move this conversation and explain to you where this conflict between Nick Fuentes and I, what's it stemming from, how Tucker Carlson's involved in that. All these dots connect together. So don't give up on me or this show, today's show. I got some more layers I want to unpack. Before I do that, I want to tell you about real estate agents I trust. Anytime in life that you have to make a big change, it's hard. This is especially true when you're planning to buy or sell a home. It's really complicated. It takes a lot of time and a lot of jumping through hoops. And of course, the stakes are just about as high as they ever get in terms of financial decisions than right now. You need a real estate agent to help you through all of this. What you don't want is what I experienced, a bunch of ordinary agents that I really didn't know, didn't trust, and it was a long process for me to find the right real estate agent. Glenn Beck has a company that clears up a lot of that. They pair you with real estate agents that you can trust, the top selling real estate agents in your area. It's someone who knows the best practices, someone who understands the crazy housing market, someone who's a team leader and a closer, someone you can trust. If you're thinking about buying or selling a home or both, please get in touch with them. You'll see what I mean. Real estate agents I trust. The name says it all. Go to realestateagentsitrust.com. That's realestateagentsitrust.com. I'm going to pivot and talk to you about the Patriot Front, people that are fronting like they're patriots while they're leading you straight to hell. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, but as I shared with you all on social media yesterday's show, I taped very late at night, right after the national championship game, so that I could, there was a bunch of things I needed to do yesterday. And so I reacted to Nick Fuentes yesterday off the top of my head late at night after watching a basketball game. I wanted to give a more thorough response, and plus there was new information that was presented to me that I needed to watch and digest. And so I'm going to do that next.
Hey, it's Tucker Carlson. There's something bad going on with American men. It's been obvious for a while. It's measurable in a million different ways, but it's also right in front of your face. For that reason, I'm joining Jason on Friday, May 2nd in Nashville for the Roll Call 3.0 conference, and I hope to see you there.
Join us at Fearless Roll Call 3.0. Real men, real conversations, real purpose. Tickets at fearlessrollcall.com.
I struggle with my health and weight loss most of my life, feeling sore, low energy, and having a hard time staying mentally sharp. But Relief Factor, it's changed all of that. I feel better, I move better, I think better. It's been a real transformation. And here's the thing, it's only $20 to try. If Relief Factor works for me, and I'm no easy case, it can work for anyone. Don't wait, call 1-800-4RELIEF or visit relieffactor.com. All right, welcome back. I want to go a layer deeper. Want to pivot the conversation and connect a few dots. I want to start with the tweet that Nick Fuentes put out that upset me. And then I'm going to share with you the tweet in my response that clearly upset him. So Nick Fuentes tweeted out 2 days ago or whenever it was, so tired of hearing that black crime is caused by black culture. For some reason, rap music doesn't make white people steal cars and shoot people. It only works on black people. He had a follow-up tweet to that that further, you know what, let's take the time to, let's grab the follow-up tweet as well, because I want to make sure I provide, we got time, I want to make sure I provide the entire proper context of this. Let me see if I can dig it up here before you guys. I want to go to my Twitter feed here and get his follow-up. If you guys get it before me, text me or put it on screen. I'm sorry for making you guys wait, but the context and everything that's going on is very important, and I'll explain to you here in a second. I apologize. What day of the week was this? Stick with me, DC. Man, I'm sorry. This is on me. This delay here is definitely on me. We got the second part of that? Yep, I think I can read it. Just another in a long list of excuses. Leftists blame it on racism and poverty. Conservatives blame it on culture and godlessness. Blacks create the same culture from LA to Baltimore, from Haiti to London, from Sudan to South Africa, from prehistory to now. It's race. So that's the two tweets he put out that upset me. And so I issued a response because he's clearly talking about me. Didn't call me out by name, but he's talking about me because I've been leading a conversation now for 4.5, 5 years about this demonic, toxic culture that too many black people have bought into, the culture of racial idolatry, the culture of entitlement, the culture of victimhood, no, I'm about to read it. Oh, yep. I'm sorry. The culture of victimhood, the culture of hip hop and hedonism, and if you get disrespected, you must respond in a very disrespectful fashion, and you must be willing to turn violent and really angry if you feel any sort of level of disrespect. This has been my topic forever. And Nick Fuentes decides, hey, I'm going to attack Jason Whitlock's argument. Not going to call him out by name, but I'm going to attack him in his argument because, and the only reason to do this is because clearly his group, his following or whatever, what I'm saying must resonate with them in some way. And so he must defeat that argument. And so I tweeted back, you're every bit as godless and stupid as your critics say. You're Ray Epps 2.0, pointing foolish believers into a building that will burn them down for eternity. Many of the people captured by the wickedness of black culture can claim ignorance. You know exactly what you're doing, demon. The enemy is paying people on social media to promote racial division and conflict. The aftermath of Austin Metcalf, Carmelo Anthony is a psyop. Don't fall for it. Stand on the word. Rebuke any so-called believer not pointing to Christ. That was my response. And so I want to, and this is going to take a second, and many of you are going to struggle to follow me as I go here, but trust me, I'm telling you the truth about how you should all feel. That's if you're a believer. If you're a secular person, this show's really not for you. This is for people claiming Christ as King, Christ as Lord and Savior. So I don't care what Nick Fuentes has to say about me. He can call me every name in the book. I don't care what anybody says about me. This isn't me talking tough. This isn't me saying I have the thickest skin in the world. This is me submitting to my irrelevance, my lack of importance. This is me acknowledging exactly who I am. I'm unimportant. What people think about me is unimportant. And so when you hear me say, and I say it pretty consistently, I don't care if people are racist. I truly do not. People can say whatever they want about black people. I don't care. They're not important. What triggers me is when people lie on Jesus. And then what really triggers me is when people lie on Jesus and use something I said to tell that lie. That is what triggers me. And so Nick Fuentes and I don't know if we'll play this all, because I'm going to play several of his clips because I want to be fair to what he argued on his show. I put out that tweet, and he put out 4.5, 5 hour show, and about 45 minutes of it was spent attacking me. And so we'll play several of these clips of him attacking me. And he starts, and I don't know if we'll play this clip, but he starts out by saying, hey, you know, he tells a story about me either late last week or early this week. It all runs together for me at this point. One day you'll be 57 and can't keep track of the days. But I think it was late last week. I called him a heretic, but I also pointed out, like, he said, he did some video where he said he didn't want to live around black people. And I said on this show, man, that sounds like what Jesse Jackson said in the late 80s, 90s. And so you can run around and pretend like what he's saying is offensive and or beyond the bounds. But I'm like, well, let's judge the actions of black people. Let's judge what black people say about black people when they think only black people are listening. Let's judge their actions. As soon as we get enough money, we move away from black people into white neighborhoods. Jesse Jackson's quoted on record saying, oh boy, I step up to an ATM machine and there's someone walking behind me and I'm relieved when I look around and find a white man. He's saying the exact same thing as Nick Fuentes. It's the exact same thing. It doesn't matter the color of Jesse's skin. It doesn't make it any different. He's saying the exact same thing. And so I was like, y'all can pretend to get upset with Nick Fuentes, but our actions and the things that we say when white people aren't listening sounds exactly like what Nick Fuentes is saying. But he's now saying, Nick Fuentes, he credited me for that, but he's now saying I contradicted myself by criticizing him over Twitter, and he thinks I'm protecting me or that I'm upset about anything he said about me, and it's just not true. He's lying on Jesus, and he's calling himself a Christian, and he's got people following him who think they're in alignment with Jesus Christ and that they're following Jesus. And my question to any of them, and this is, and we'll play clips here so you can get a taste of what he did. His angry, profane, Stephen A. Smith-like response to 3 or 4 sentences from me over Twitter. He's got 45 minutes of a deranged, profane response while calling himself a Christian. And what I'm complaining about overall, hey bro, point to Christ. And so your narrative that this melanin skin, this darker shade of a skin color, that a tone that we all share, there's just different shades of it. Show me in the Bible where this is. The foundation of all truth for believers is in the Bible. And so any of you all that listen to this show or watch this show on a regular basis, what is my number one complaint with a great number of black Americans? What is my complaint with a great number of black ministers? They run around and think the world and what's going on in the world is determined by black and white, by skin color. And I've asked virtually once a week on this show for 4.5 or 5 years, show it to me in the Bible. You're calling God a liar because it's not in the Bible. But if God said the world was ruled by skin color and race, he would have put it in the Bible. But that's not what he put in the Bible. So your claim is inconsistent with the word of God, the foundation of truth, while you're claiming Christ and while you're getting other people to think they're following Christ by following you as you lead them into a burning pit of hell by removing them from biblical truth to rely on your understanding. The Bible tells us to not lean into our understanding. It says lean into God's understanding. And what the Bible is is a historic account of different groups of people falling into pagan cultures. It's a repeat of that on a loop. The children of Israel giving into pagan cultures, pagan customs, idolatry, and dealing with the consequences of them falling into pagan cultures. That's the story of the Bible. You don't have to ask me. You can go read it for yourself. And so that's what upsets me. People that claim Christ but lean into their own understanding and then tell other people, lean into my understanding because I'm smarter than God. Race explains everything. This is a racial conflict that's playing out globally. My Bible and anybody else's Bible tells you we're all from the seed of Adam. My Bible tells me that we were all made in God's image, that he knew us in the womb. It says nothing in the Bible. Hey, there's a group of people that are inferior and that I made in a defective way. And you can tell them by their skin color. That would be in the Bible if it were true. So acknowledge, hey man, I really don't care nothing about this Bible. I am, and I'm going to tell you who he is. White Louis Farrakhan. That's who he is. And you know how I know it? Because I used to go to Louis Farrakhan speeches all the time when I was young and dumb. I used to be the expert on everything that came out of Louis Farrakhan's mouth. And Louis Farrakhan, like Nick Fuentes, and like ministers, black ministers all over America, knows if I really want to attract a following, the way to attract a following in the world is to lean into racial idolatry. And so you mix some truth with racial idolatry, you get a big audience. You get a big following. You can build you the Fruit of Islam and a security force. You can build you a Groypers movement. And they will go out and spam and harass whoever you point them at. And so I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly who I'm upsetting, and I know exactly what they're going to do because they're a part of a cult that thinks they're following God and they're actually following an asset. And so my response, and this is where I'm just like, it's not me. This discernment, this instincts, it's not me. I know how stupid I am. I know how irrelevant I am. It's not me. I've received a blessing from God that I can't even, again, it's my whole writing ability. This isn't from me being a great scholar. This is a blessing from God. These instincts where I can read a book and go, hey, Stephen A. Smith wants to run for president. That's not me, that's God. And so when I tweeted out my response to Nick Fuentes, and I put Ray Epps in it, Nick Fuentes thinks that I knew he was at January 6th. He thinks that I knew that Tucker Carlson had already called him an asset. He thinks I knew none of it. Look, everybody knows where my expertise is, covering sports. I pay attention to politics. I apply the biblical wisdom that I've acquired to my takes and opinions on politics. You know, I kind of follow cultural things, but I'm no sort of political expert. Not the way others are. I don't follow it. And I'm friends with Tucker Carlson, and I love Tucker Carlson. But I don't follow everything that he does. And so people will make an assumption that I do. No clue. No clue that Tucker Carlson had, I don't know, a year ago, 6 months ago, I'm not sure. Well, I'm gonna play you a clip. I think it's him and the comedian Dave Smith are talking, and they get on a topic about these assets, these feds. They talk about Ray Epps and what he was doing on January 6th. And I'm telling you, I had no idea when I put out that tweet that Nick Fuentes was at January 6th and that Nick Fuentes had directed people into the Capitol. I did not know. He thinks I knew. He thinks that my friendship with Tucker Carlson and that me and Tucker Carlson sit up gossiping on the phone about Nick Fuentes. It never happened. And so it's like when I connected these dots, I thought, oh, this is why the dude's upset. This is a hit dog. But let's play the Tucker Carlson clip. I think it's SOT number 3.
An inside job to a large degree.
Can we just establish that anybody who screamed, let's storm the Capitol, I can think of 2 people who did, who was not arrested, didn't spend time in jail.
Was defended by Democrats in the Congress.
Yes. But he wasn't alone. There's another prominent person who did that as well, as I know you know. Didn't get arrested, didn't go to jail. I mean, what can we conclude from that?
Yes.
He's talking about Ray Epps, and he's talking about Nick Fuentes. I did not know this. So when I put that tweet out, that was just my instincts. That was just me like, smells like a Fed to me, smells like an asset. Let's play the clip, SOT 4. This is Nick Fuentes at the Capitol on January 6th, directing people into the Capitol.
They betray us, and now we are forcibly evicting them from the people's house.
A lot of people sat in prison for 3 and 4 years for a lot less than that. And you've heard me say, and I'll stand on this, you've heard me and you've watched me in real time. January 6th, I started defending those people on January 7th. I'm no Johnny come lately. Day one, I was like, I like them people. And 4 years later, I love them people. They went to prison, did the time, sat with their Bibles, sat with God, prayed together, sang songs together, survived that. Those are the people that have been vetted and tested. The people that did that and faced no consequences, I'm very suspicious of. Very suspicious of. had no idea that Tucker had said this. And so when Nick Fuentes launched into his 45-minute tirade, profane tirade, name calling, and all this other stuff, I'm like, where's the God? Where's the great Christian? There is none. With all of this, with everybody, if they're not pointing to Christ and the cross, they're not Christians. If they're leaning into their own understanding, if their response to some criticism is, hey, let me put together a 45-minute name-calling, profanity-laced tirade, that smells like Stephen A. Smith to me. And I've said on this show and told you exactly who Stephen A. Smith is. And that he's got puppet masters and puppet strings. And I told you 2 years ago, this dude wants to run for president. Powerful people are clearly backing him. They've written a book. And then so when I go look into Nick Fuentes' background, and I'm like, the Boston Globe wrote a story about this dude in 2016 or 2017. He's a freshman in college at Boston University, and the Boston Globe, the legacy media, is starting to build him up. Like, how? Why? I mean, the Boston Globe, the New York Times, they don't do this for real people, for authentic people. The people that they're really concerned about, they ignore. They don't lend them any credibility, particularly when they're 19. Let's start championing this guy. And then you look at the rest of the controlled media, the legacy media, and they start generating stories about some 19-year-old kid that's accomplished nothing. I'm like, oh, this is how you build an asset. And let me connect some more dots to you. You've heard Candace Owens talking about this book, Chaos. You've heard Tucker Carlson talking about the Tom O'Neill book, Chaos. I've mentioned it because I've read it. I read it after Tucker and Candace kept raving about it. I was like, okay, let me read this. And it's about Charles Manson. And it's about how the establishment, the CIA, law enforcement, let Charles Manson get away with any and everything. Could have locked him up long before they did a mass killing of anybody. But they left him out there and they used drugs to control him or let him use drugs or just, and you know what's at the heart of Charles Manson's ideology and what he was promoting? He was preparing for and promoting racial conflict. He was a white nationalist or whatever, because I don't have a problem with nationalism. And as I've already told you, I couldn't care less about somebody being racist. It's America. They're free to do that. Doesn't impact me in the slightest. I'm irrelevant. You may not know it, but so are you. And what someone says about my skin color is irrelevant. When they start lying on God, have a problem. When they start saying, oh, this group of people that God made inferior, innately violent. And the whole story of the Bible is about people falling into pagan culture, sexual depravity, hedonism, materialism. And so this, and I got to start unpacking, let Nick speak for himself, but everything you've heard me say on this show is, hey man, people with my skin color, we've fallen into a pagan culture, into a pagan cult. we're like these people in the Bible that give into all this sexual immorality and hedonism and materialism and no impulse control. We've fallen under the spell of a pagan culture. And we need to repent and come out from that. Or we're going to have to deal with the curses that go along with it, the consequences that go along with it. And I sit on this show virtually every day and say, look at this demonic pagan culture that we continue to celebrate. We continue to treat Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and every degenerate rapper like there's somebody to be worshiped and idolized. And we keep ignoring the consequences of this pagan culture. And we keep looking at our children, pants hanging off their rear end. Look at our children, can barely speak proper English, can't read at level, can't do math at the proper level, dependent on the sympathy of white liberals to hand them something through DEI or affirmative action rather than building their own and taking care of their kids and nurturing and raising them in the fear and admonition of the Lord. Look at our fruit. It's no good, and it's because we've given in to a pagan culture. This story is told over and over and over again in the Bible. Children of Israel, pagan culture, consequences of that pagan culture. And that's why you hear me talking about, hey man, this whole black culture thing, this whole hip hop culture thing, taking us straight to hell. Not quite done yet because I want to play these clips, but I got to take care of the people that make this show possible. And I really want to thank the guys at Angel Studios because they put out tremendous movies that do not violate a biblical worldview. They put out The Sound of Freedom. Now they got The King of Kings. A father tells his son the greatest story ever told, and what begins as a bedtime tale becomes a life-changing journey. Through vivid imagination, the boy walks alongside Jesus, witnessing his miracles, facing his trials, and understanding his ultimate sacrifice. The King of Kings invites us to rediscover the enduring power of hope, love, and redemption through the eyes of a child. This film has a high-profile cast of voices to include Oscar Isaac, Pierce Brosnan, Mark Hamill, Ben Kingsley, Uma Thurman, Forrest Whitaker. That's just a few. There's also beautiful animation, and it's the perfect film to enjoy with your family this Easter. I encourage you to see The King of Kings in theaters on Friday, this coming Friday. Get your tickets today at angel.com/Jason. That's angel.com/Jason. Let me start unpacking some of these clips. And I don't know if I'll do this in the right order, but I want to give a fair hearing. And, you know, the guy, I listened to the entire 45 minutes or however long it was. Can't play the whole 45 minutes. I just want to give you a flavor. And a couple of these clips are really long. We got a 5-minute clip, but I just want to be fair to the guy and let him, so he can't say I'm taking him out of context. But so let's start with shot number 5. This is a long one. It's about 5 minutes. It's Fuentes on black culture and Jews and all of that. Let's play the clip.
And this black conservative commentator from The Blaze, a former sports commentator named Jason Whitlock, replied to my monologue. And he called me a heretic, which I didn't appreciate, but he didn't elaborate on that, so I didn't take it too personally. And he said that he understands where I'm coming from. He said that other black people have said the same thing that I've said, so it's not necessarily a racial thing. He says he kind of can understand it. And then today he had a completely different take. I posted today, and I'll tell you my position on this, and then I'll return to my beef now with Jason. So I replied to Jason on my show very graciously, and I said, look, I respect this guy immensely, but I disagree. And I elaborated about that. I elaborated on that point today on Twitter. I said, I'm getting really sick and tired of white people and black people blaming everything other than black people. People like Jason Whitlock say the problem with young YNs, young black men, these black adolescents, they say the problem with them is the culture. It's the rap music made them this way. How many times are we going to hear this one? The glorification of gangster culture made them this way. Rap music made them this way. Tupac made them this way. The media made them this way. Jews made them. People blame the Jews now. They blame the rich. They say the rich are dividing the white and the black people. Always excuses. And I said on Friday, and I said today, I'm really getting sick and tired of hearing that because we all know it's not true. Just one problem with that idea, it just isn't true. It is a racial issue. For all the people saying, and it brings me no joy to say this, I'm not happy about that, but it's the reality. I deal in reality. I'm a truth teller. So I know that makes black people uncomfortable. It makes white people uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable reality. And for some, it's very upsetting and it's offensive. And that's a shame because it's the truth. But for all those people that say we want to take race out of the conversation, we just simply can't because the common denominator is race. We are not being accosted in downtown Chicago by people who are bad Christians. We're not being accosted downtown by people who listen to rap music. We're not accosted downtown by people that worship gangster culture. We're being accosted by black people. We're being accosted by black men, young adolescent black men with black skin, with big noses, African Americans. They're not even necessarily African. They're not the Nigerian immigrants that drive for Uber. They're the African American descendants of slaves in the United States. They're black men. That is who is accosting us. And if it were cultural, that wouldn't be the case. I said this today on Twitter. For all of these conservatives that say it's the black culture, why don't white people, why don't you see white male teenagers stabbing and shooting and carjacking and taking over the city? Why don't you see that? Do white people not listen to rap music? Do white people not go to rap concerts? Do white people not speak like black people in Ebonics, in African American vernacular English? Do white people not worship black celebrities? Do white people not pretend to be gangsters? Of course they do. So do Hispanics. So do Asians. When you look at some of the biggest nerds in rap culture, it's Asians. It's Asian music producers. When's the last time you've seen an Asian gang take over downtown Chicago, mug people on the subway, carjack people? You just don't see it. You see black people, not people that listen to rap music. It just so happens that black people do. And why do you think this is? For all the people that blame it on the culture, hey, guess who made black culture? Black people. Black people are being made to do these things by black culture. Well, guess who made black culture? Black people. And there is a minority of people who say, well, the Jews made black culture. Candace Owens says the Jews made black culture this way. There's some truth to this. Jewish people produced, and by that I mean funded, rap music and black culture, but black people made it. But black people made it.
So that entire 5 minutes is a defense primarily of rap music and rap culture. Hey, there's nothing really wrong with this demonic energy that they're lacing in music and using as a tool to represent an entire group of people. There's nothing wrong with that. And don't blame the people that finance that. It's your fault. Because me and my friends, we listen to this demonic nihilistic music. And we haven't killed anybody, and we don't. And so he's defending something that is reprehensible while calling himself a Christian. And so his next video could potentially be, hey man, I watch porn. And hey, I'm a virgin. And I watch porn. So you can't blame it on porn. Porn doesn't harm anyone. Because I watch porn and I'm a virgin. Porn hasn't harmed me. It doesn't contribute to the decaying of society. It doesn't contribute to nihilism. It's only this weak group of people that need to be eliminated, and they're inferior. It only hurts them. And he's either oblivious to, ignorant of, or dishonest, or just hasn't thought about it long enough. But there is a specific level of programming, genre of programming, directed right at black people. And I'm not calling us victims, because the truth is available to us. We're aware of it. We know it's in the Bible. We know that God exists. We're just in denial and rejection of him. But to sit here today and think that, and I'm speaking specifically about American kids, but what goes on in America impacts the globe. And there's a specific form of programming in movies, in television, in all of that's completely directed at black people. You're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim. Your culture is gold chains and hedonism and women gyrating on stage half naked. There's rappers that get signed to music labels that get to say nigga, 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 and kill niggas, blah, blah. They constantly, drumbeat, constant. That would not be allowed if it was directed at other groups as consistently and as pervasively. And I'm not offering up black people an excuse, because ignorance will not be a defense on Judgment Day. But let's don't kid ourselves that the music industry and Hollywood and the television industry have placed black people in a certain role. When movies come out, there's a steady stream, no matter what the movie's about. It has to include some sort of theme of black people as victims and black people trapped in a race war against white people. Like that your entire existence as a black person is about waking up every day and dealing with what white people did to you today. And I've lived 57 years. My life doesn't circle around what white people did to me today. And that's not to say that I haven't had bad situations or environments or engagement with white people that wasn't negative. But I've had it with black people as well. And I know that when you live in a predominantly black environment, what you really worry about is the black people in your environment that have been programmed to interpret anything as disrespect and anything as an excuse to turn violent. And that's what you worry and think about and try to avoid on a daily basis. You watch the movies, TV, you listen to music, and it's telling you something completely the opposite, constantly, over and over and over again. It's a mass psychosis that is not by accident. Anybody I'm just gonna rattle off 12 these movies: 12 Years a Slave, Dear White People, Get Out, If Beale Street Could Talk, Black Klansman, The Hate U Give, Queen and Slim, Judas the Black Messiah, the American Society of Magical Negroes. Just goes on and on and on. Anytime a black person ingests popular culture, either the music, the television show, or the movie is telling you you're a victim and you should hate white people. This is a mass psychosis. This is a pagan culture being promoted by the entire establishment. Very powerful forces. And this ain't me saying, hey, you're a victim. This is me saying, this pagan culture, you got some help adopting it. When every television show, let's just stay in my lane, sports media, and who gets the big contracts if you're black? You need some sort of criminality on your rap sheet. You need some sort of issue with domestic violence. You need some dirt on your name to get those opportunities. Or you need to be a clown and unqualified like Stephen A. Smith. The system does not reward or elevate the best and brightest. It punishes them. It places them in line behind the degenerate, the tatted up, the people that promote prison culture. They get the, why do you think every rapper is tatted up head to toe, looks like a clown, talks like a clown, and has to talk clown-ish to get the contract? And trust me, if they put Russell Simmons or Diddy in charge, or pretend that they're in charge, that's who they're instructed to go out and hire and promote and then set them up as idols, and young kids look up to these guys. Well, this must be the way. This is our lane. Criminality, degeneracy. Anybody that watches this show on a semi-regular basis hears me speak against this demonic culture virtually every day. You hear me speak against the forces running this demonic culture and trying to tell you, snap out of it. You're not in control of this culture. You just bought into it because you know there's a paycheck that goes along with it. And he's defending the people running this culture. It ain't their fault. I'm calling both out. Why are you adopting it? Why are you a sellout? And why are you promoting and creating it? Well, I'm trying to think of, he said a lot in here. Well, I tried to write some notes. He called himself a truth teller. All truth is based on the Bible. If at any point during any of these clips, if you hear this man quoting the Bible, let me know. If you hear this man pointing to the Bible as the ultimate source of truth, if you hear him pointing to Christ at any point, let me know. I watched the entire 45 minutes. There was a tiny bit, a contradictory part where he did point to Christ. We'll play it. What you will hear is him complaining, and him putting himself on the cross. Let's play SOT number 6.
That's the worst part about being me, is like, you just get crucified. People just don't even give you, like, am I really, is all that I am, the sum of what I am is the stuff that I say on the internet? Really? You're going to go out and say so-and-so's a demon? It's like, you don't even watch my show, let alone know me. You caught a clip from my show. You saw a tweet. I'm a demon now? I mean, who says this kind of stuff? Who says that? You.
Someone who thinks that anybody claiming Christ that's not pointing to Christ is a demon, that's who says that. And that's what I'm calling you out about. Calling yourself a Christian, making these young men that are following you think that they're Christians, while you're not pointing them to Christ. You're pointing them to your understanding of the world, and your understanding of the world is so limited compared to God that you need to shut up. If all you can think to do when someone tweets at you 3 or 4 sentences, 5, I don't know how many it was, calling you out for dragging them into your pointing people away from Jesus Christ while pointing them to your understanding. If all you can think to do is, hey, let me go on air and curse and scream and call this guy names for 45 minutes while pretending to be a Christian, yeah, you're a demon. I want to play SOT number 7. I think he starts talking about that I owe him an apology and a bunch of name calling. Let's play SOT 7.
That Jason Whitlock, I mean, look, I said so. Okay, I'm angry. I don't necessarily mean calling him fat all the time, and I'm just frustrated. I'll admit, there were some cheap shots in there. I'll admit, calling him low impulse control, high time preference. That was maybe that wasn't necessarily called for, but the rest of it, I totally stand by. But it's like, hey man, what gives? What is that? I mean, especially these older guys. These older guys should really be more considerate. Like, I'm a young man. You don't even know me. You don't even watch my shit. So why don't you just stop talking trash? Why don't you just stop making judgments and trying to performatively throw me under the bus, trash my credibility? It's just uncalled for,
Nick, I think last week I defended something you said that was very provocative, compared it to like, hey, Jesse Jackson, this is what black people said. You subtweeted me, called me out, not by name, but clear as day, called me out, and then used it to try to point people away from Christ. That sets me off. You can call me fat. I am fat. Call me an idiot. I am an idiot. You can call me all them things. You can say whatever you want about black people. I don't care. It's irrelevant. When you lie on Jesus Christ, I get upset. When you try to explain to the world that hey, everything can be explained by race. That's not true. And Whitlock's pointing to culture. I'm pointing to culture because I actually am trying to understand the Bible. And the Bible repeats points. Children of Israel falling into pagan cultures. If it were about race, the Bible would say, hey, they stayed out in the sun too long, got too dark skinned, and just lost control of themselves. But that's not what it does. And so and this is my overall point, your argument is the same as the black people that I criticize very consistently on this show. The black people that sit in the pulpit, the black people that go to college, the black people that go to corporate America, the black people that are sitting on MSNBC and CNN, and who constantly say, race, 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 race. Race explains everything. These white racists are holding me back. These white racists. Who was the fat black woman that I showed last week? Diets are racist and black, you can't lose weight when you're black because of racism. You got the same explanation. You're tapping into the same racial idolatry. Them black people think they're the chosen people, that you can't get into heaven unless you love me. That's not what the Bible says. It says Jesus is the truth and the way and the only way. It's not black people. And you're not required to just go out of your way and show all kinds of mercy to people that have given in to a pagan culture. It's no different than what I said, I believe yesterday, that I'm sure irritated a lot of people, because people get upset with Matt Walsh for tweeting out things that, are factual, but he doesn't say it with a lot of empathy. And people get upset when he says, hey man, these young black men there's violence here and there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And they want him to say it with some sort of empathy, and I don't think he should. I don't think he's required to do that. If people have adopted a culture that is pagan and is ridden with sexual immorality and violence, and trust me, white people have done it too. And so, but what I see from Christian evangelicals is like, hey, they know who's running the Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry. And they're in objection to that industry because they know it's antithetical to Jesus Christ and what he teaches, the child sacrifice. And they don't have any problem calling that out. And so when I look over at a culture that is this easily triggered by perceived disrespect, I call it out. And so I'm trying to push people in the direction of a biblical worldview that the world's history, God's creation, has been riddled with groups of people falling into pagan cultures. And we should not like those pagan cultures. And that's what I tweeted about Matt Walsh. I was like, I hope he hates black culture, because I do, and everyone should. The way black culture has been defined in this country and the way it has ensnared a group of people and moved them away from family structure and thinking that the nuclear family is a relic of the past and something that needs to be dismantled. And that's what Black Lives Matter and them 3 black lesbians were trying to do with Black Lives Matter. And they've been successful in creating that mentality among black people. It's a pagan mentality. We don't need family. And then they look at their kids and can't figure out why they're out of control. And then the 25% of black people that have intact families are too narcissistic and silly and just ignorant to like, hey man, if I keep letting my kids from this nuclear family adopt the pagan culture, the baby mama culture, the black culture that tells them men are irrelevant and non-necessary, you don't need to bow to male authority, you don't need to adopt in a real way any of the values in the Bible. These black couples that think their kids are protected because my intact family is together, and it doesn't matter that all these 80% of these other people have fallen into this pagan, I don't need a family culture. You don't understand, your kids will get swept up in that. That the values you placed in them will get rooted out by a culture that has been established for your people and is promoted in TV, movies, music, everywhere. We don't understand the power of culture. We're not taking the lessons from the Bible that are clear-cut, crystal clear. Pagan cultures and the adoption of them destroy people, and there are major consequences for young people, for kids, and you will pay a price and you will have to answer to God for not rebuking that culture. But because the establishment wants a race war between black and white in this country, so they can undo the Constitution in this country, so they can undo America's biblical founding. They don't want you addressing the culture. They want you to say, black people are the problem. And they want black people to say, white people are the problem. And so everybody ignores the pagan, nihilistic culture that exists in America. You can see it in the music, you can see it in the movies, you can see it in Planned Parenthood establishments, you can see it in the rallies that women host, and thousands of them show up in defense of abortion. You can see it on Epstein Island, you can see it everywhere, but no one wants to object to that. They want you to, it's that group of people, it's that group of people. That ain't what the Bible says. And so when, again, you gotta, why I don't get upset when people say, hey man, black people, that behavior, that ain't good. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Because it's true. And everybody that says it is trying to take the scales off of people's eyes. Like, hey man, you got a problem. It's just, guys that, Tim Walton, I don't know if he's watching this show. I'm sorry for calling your name, Tim, but Tim's one of my brothers. Tim Walton, 5 months ago, was like, hey man, texted me, hey man, I just saw a picture of you. What happened? You was doing so good. You done put weight back on. Cut it out. That was him calling me out on my gluttony and gluttonous culture. And I love him for it. Todd Wright, Tim Walton's a black dude, he's one of my best friends. Todd Wright, he played offensive guard right next to me. He saw me around the same time Ball State played Vanderbilt here in college football, and he came to town for the game. First thing that popped out of his mouth was like, hey, what's going on, man? What you weighing? Last time I saw you, you look better than this. That's how he greeted me. Because the man cares about me. And Tim Walton and Todd Wright and these dudes got different perspectives. They come from completely different, but that's when you care about somebody, you tell them the truth. So I don't have a problem with anybody. Hey, black people, y'all need to get married. This is insanity. What you're doing to your kids, you're out of line with God. Can't be having these babies with no man in the house, no marriage. When 60% of black women that have kids have multiple baby daddies, that's insanity. And it needs to be called out. And I don't care whose feelings get hurt. But when you start saying, hey, that group of people by their race, they're evil and wicked and less than, now you've crossed God. And you've contradicted what's in the Bible. You contradicted Jesus Christ. And you got people following you that are following you to a path of destruction. And so, and when black people say, it's racism. No. It's your behavior. Get married, raise them kids properly, pay attention to your kids, discipline your kids. Don't let a video game raise your kids. Don't let them sit up all day and night listening to Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar. Make sure your kids don't have anything to do with, teach them the wickedness of this so-called black culture and tell them to run from it. Take on the identity of image bearer of Christ. Take on the Christian identity and leave all the other stuff alone. Because if you want to know what's harming you and your kids, it's the identity that you have allowed yourself to adopt and allow your kids to adopt. The white man is your God, and Jesus Christ needs to be your God. And black culture is your idol, and Jesus Christ needs to be your idol. So, here, SOT number 10, this is, I won't play this. This is Nick Fuentes, calling me a token and anyway, play the clip.
But what comes first before that is a little charity in truth, or truth in charity. Before we can be charitable to the fucking killers, before we can be charitable to the predators, killers, looters, muggers, burglars, before we can be charitable, we must be honest. We must be just. We're not called just to be merciful. We're also called. I watch his content. I frequently engage with this content, replied to it. I was actually a fan. I thought he was better than that. Can't handle the truth. And that's all it is. Where's the argument? You're a demon, you're this, you're that. A lot of name calling, no arguments. But let's hear it, fathead. You want to rebut it on your show? Here's your 15 minutes. Well, let's hear the rebuttal, fathead. Watch the show. Don't tell me you know what I'm doing. Give me the argument. Tell me who's paying me. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it, fathead. So ridiculous. What a joke. What a fucking joke you are. Token. Let me put my cash in the machine and receive my tokens. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic and embarrassing, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And by the way, here's the last thing I'll say about it. You know, it's always these Christians. I am a Christian. But it's always these, Christians with the hot takes that have the least charity. Isn't that the irony? Jason Whitlock says, well, the answer to white people being murdered is we just got to be charitable. We got to be Christian, because charity is the essence of Christianity. Properly understood, what charity is loving your neighbor. It's willing the good for your neighbor. It's forgiving the trespasses of your neighbor. That's what charity is. Forgive us our trespasses, right? Let us not trespass. That's the essence of the religion. Now, when Jason Whitlock sees black people committing all the violent crimes and ruining the social order that whites created, endless charity. We need the gospel. We need to bring everybody together. We can't be divisive. We can't talk about the racial differences. When somebody talks about the racial differences, no charity. I know what you're doing. You're a demon. You're a heretic. Name calling, baseless accusations. You're taking money. No charity for me. I was nothing but gracious. And you don't even know a thing about me. You don't know me. You've never seen my show. You don't know a thing about me. No charity for me. Some Christian. Oh, yeah. But that's not Christian. You're a black narcissist. You're another black crybaby narcissist. That's what that is. Don't hide behind the cross. Don't be another coward.
I played that clip just because I don't even know how to respond to that. You guys have watched the show. You know this content. You know my reputation. You know what I get criticized for. All of that name calling and all that profanity, none of it was based in any truth. And that's my primary problem. That somehow I am some sort of bleeding heart liberal that somebody, man, if you do wrong, and you're black, let me run cover for you. That's me? I mean, really? That's what I've been doing here. Hit me up over email, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com. If that's me, I'll come on here and repent. And maybe I've been living in a fantasy world, but that just ain't me. And so this is where I'm saying, like, the dishonesty, the profanity, the name calling, the emotion, the divorce from reality, because that's all I can think this is, because he is accurate. I don't watch his show. This is the most of his content that I've ever watched. I watched 45 minutes straight of him ranting and raving, and he's accurate on that. But he has acknowledged he watches my show. He engages with my content. If there's a bunch of videos out there of me saying, hey, you got to look the other way. Carmelo Anthony, I mean, he's a great kid, and, he shouldn't face first-degree murder charges, maybe a simple assault. If that's what I've been doing, let me know. I don't think that it is, but maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Hit me up over email again, fearlessblazeshow@gmail.com, if that's what I've been doing. Hit me over Twitter @WhitlockJason if that's what I've been doing. I want to play one final clip here from Nick, because he does a complete pivot. He basically says that at one point, or he argues quite a bit that, Whitlock's saying Christianity is the answer, and, he doesn't, it's race, and, he can't say Christian. And then he just pivots in the middle of it and says Christianity is the answer. It's the only time that I think in this 45 minutes where he points to Christ. And but it's in direct contradiction to everything he had been saying and had been criticizing. I mean, Whitlock wants to point to Christ, and he's saying godlessness is the problem. And then some, out of nowhere, he just pivots and says, yeah, Christianity is the answer. And it blew my mind, but let's play SOT number 8.
They just hide behind the cross. They just hide behind, and they're cowardly. They just hide behind the Christian religion. I'm not a big black crybaby. I just think that, you know, the young black people need Christ. Really? Oh, someone should tell that to Haiti, a Christian nation. So should we bring over all those Christian Haitians over there? Should we bring on all those Christians from sub-Saharan Africa? I mean, really? Give me a break. It is racial. So you know what? Fuck you. Hey, fathead. Fuck you. Well, we're done. Fuck you and your black tears. We've just had enough of that. Okay, fathead. I'm so sick, so ignorant, and so dishonest. We've just had enough of that. So, you know, I guess, and I'm sorry to say I was wrong. I thought Jason Whitlock was a truth teller. I thought he was an honest guy. He's another one of these people with the blinders on. And that's the irony, with the racial blinders on. He's another one of these typical crybaby, black fragility narcissists that cannot hear something they don't like about their own people. We've been hearing it our whole lives. And by the way, people say, you know, you dish it out, but can you take it? I'm the most critical of the white community out of anybody. Out of anybody. I'm the first one to talk about the toxic aspects of white people also. I'm the first one. And I get criticized by my own people for it. And that goes for, you know, I'm Italian, Mexican, Irish. I can say the same thing about all my heritage, white people in general. I'm the first one to say it. But black people, it's a lot of them just have this complete inability, even the conservative ones. Get real, man. And the irony is, I said about Jason Whitlock, I said, you know, I agree with him that the only solution to reconcile whites and blacks is Christianity. I said, but first must come the truth. You know, and that's sort of the funny thing. If this fathead had even watched my show, hey, fathead, just watch the show. I know it's long. It might stretch your attention span, high time preference and everything, low impulse control. Hey, fathead, if you'd bothered to watch the show, I said I actually agreed with him. I do believe that the only way to reconcile whites and blacks, which is something that I believe we should do, because I don't hate blacks and I don't think we have to live in a state of war or resentment. I think that there should be harmony between the races. I think there can be. And I agree with him that the only way to do that is Christianity. I absolutely agree.
So it was quite the pivot there. And he says that the only way for racial harmony is to tell the truth. And I completely agree with that. And I think we're trying to do a show that's consistent with that. And the foundation of all truth is Scripture, is God. And that's why so much of what we share on this show is from a biblical worldview. We try to incorporate Scripture into what we talk about and say on this show. I try to avoid profanity. I try to avoid over emotion and, mostly try to avoid name calling. And I try to give people a fair hearing. I know that Nick and his fans want, and maybe he thought his original tweet was, hey, let me have Nick on the show and we can disagree and we can debate this. I'm not going to debate biblical truth. I'll have a conversation about it, but I have a biblical understanding. I'm going to point to Christ, and when people start pointing to their understanding, I ain't got time for it. And I'm 57. What is Nick, 23, 24? I'm not sure. He's a kid. and you know, he seems, from my perspective, like, hey, someone's got puppet strings on him. Someone, he's there. He's not, his actions aren't consistent with looking for the racial harmony that he says he is. And so, you know, I don't have time for it. It's just, I don't have it. And literally, he's proven me right. And that's why I'm giving him his say by playing what he said so that he can say that I have not heard him, because I have heard him. I watched the entire 45 minutes of his rant, and I'm rewatching highlights and trying to give him a fair hearing. But for those of you, and I'll save that. There is one more clip. I had the wrong card in front of me, and that's why. And so I do want to play SOT 12, where he says my role is to confer dignity on white conservatives. Let's play SOT 12.
And by the way, you are a token. Hey, Jason, you're a token. You are in conservative media as a black guy that can confer upon white people the dignity of not being called a racist for having their views. That's why you get paid. And that's why I don't, because I didn't have the privilege of being born black. I was born white, so there's a limit on what I can say. There's a limit on what I can say without being penalized in the so-called free marketplace of ideas. And everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows. And everybody's sick of it, especially in the conservative space, that blacks have had it easy. It is, and I don't doubt that he's a sincere person. I'm sure he's a sincere person. I'm sure he's genuine. But you are playing by a different set of rules, pal. You have training wheels on. You think you've earned it? Everything you have. Take a look around at your studio, your contract, your employees. If you said the stuff that you said as a white person, your ass would be fucking gone. And everybody knows that. You're on Blaze hosting E. Michael Jones talking about the Jews. It's a good fucking thing you're black, because if you weren't, you would have been fired like Elijah Schaffer.
I'm glad I remembered that clip, because there's a couple things going on here. There are, you know, there's jealousy. There is some sort of belief that I'm immune to the consequences of my journalistic standards, of my approach to journalism. How dare you interview E. Michael Jones, and you know, if you were white, you would have been fired. And he's comparing me to Elijah Schaffer. I've had Elijah Schaffer on this show years ago when he worked at the Blaze. And when you are 57, 56 at that time, or when you start here at age 52, 53, when you have put together, when God has put together for you the journalistic career that I've put together, and I'm sorry, that God has put together for me, and I say that in all sincerity, that the things that I accomplish as a journalist, and they're on record, there's no question about it, that God allowed me to be one of the best sports journalists, and this will be offensive to the people that hate me, but it's just reality, in American history. Accomplished some things, wrote stories that major national impact, time after time after time again, exposed truths that no one else was going to expose. And I'm in my 50s, and he's comparing me to a child who was at the beginning of his career in the media, and expects that a child in this profession should be treated like a decorated military veteran in this profession. That me and Elijah Schaffer should be treated the same. That's a level of privilege that they want that perhaps is irrational. And you know, the assertion that, you know, I've been given everything, oh boy, that's quite a stretch. But he can have that narrative. Doesn't bother. I don't want to remotely sound defensive about it. But the one thing I do want to answer to is like this thought that I'm here to confer dignity on white conservatives. I'm here to defend Christian values. I'm here to defend anyone that stands on Christian values. And I don't want Christian values demonized as racist. And so anybody that is standing on the truths, the historical account in this Bible, and stands on that truth firmly and points back to this Bible and his word and his ways. And I've watched the culture try to demonize people standing on this word and this truth. And they're trying to cleverly paint it as racist and only white conservatives do this or do that, or white evangelicals, or Uncle Tom black people. Yeah, I want to confer dignity to God's truth. And I don't want it smeared and promoted as racist or harmful for black people. And that's what they've been doing. Hey, if you follow the Bible, black people, that's going to harm you. And I am here to object to that. And I will defend anybody that I believe is following this Bible. And I will call out anybody that's pretending to follow the Bible while pointing people straight to hell. And so that's why I've had to, from time to time, pretty consistently on this show, like, hey man, this stuff going on in the pulpit in these black churches and all this racial idolatry and all this understanding of the world they're passing on to their congregants, that this is a battle of black versus white. That's why I call, hey man, that's not biblical. There's no way. We can go to Ephesians. We're one in Christ. We can go to the Bible and find no mention of race. And I know that y'all try to find, well, I think it's inferred in this and that. And I think if you understand when Paul called out Peter, that was really about race. I've heard it all. It's all hot garbage. It's not true. It's your understanding. And you shouldn't lean into your understanding. Because trust me, if we were in a battle of black versus white, one of them early chapters in the Old Testament, one of them early chapters in the New Testament would have been like, hey, let me tell y'all about this black versus white battle that's going to rule the world. Doesn't do that. People that want to lean into their own understanding pass along that understanding to justify the racial idolatry they use to build an audience. Louis Farrakhan did it and does it. Nick Fuentes did it and does it. Mix in tiny kernels of truth, or even some big kernels of truth, but lace it with racial idolatry. That's how you build an audience. And so when you say, I'm rejecting the racial idolatry, it's a lot harder to build an audience. Because people, black, white, they've been programmed to only like the taste of racial idolatry. That's what tickles their ears. I'm a special person. I'm the chosen people. Don't you know all the struggles I've been through? Didn't they tell you about the Holocaust? Didn't they tell you about the Tulsa Massacre? Didn't they tell you all the troubles? Nick Fuentes, he got banned on YouTube. Didn't they tell you about that? I'm the chosen people. Unless you drop to your knees and praise and worship me, unless you make sure everything you say about me doesn't hurt my feelings, you'll never see the gates of heaven. I can't find that anywhere in the Bible, but I hear people preaching it every single day. It's a competition to be the chosen people. And what I'm sitting here telling you, you ain't important, I ain't important, my skin color ain't important, your skin color ain't important. The culture that you choose to adopt, Bible tells me that's very important. How many different stories, how many different times does that story have to be unpacked in the Bible before people that call themselves Christians acknowledge, man, we better speak up on these cultural differences. We better speak up on these pagan cultures. We better tell people to reject these cultures that will put them at odds with God. Because there's some curses and consequences that come along with that you do not want to experience. I was gonna get into the MLK Ultra aspect of all of this, but don't I got a little bit more business to take care of before we get out of here? I think it's not Relief Factor. Yeah, is it not relief? We've already done Relief Factor. Hey, The Blaze has a new magazine, Frontier. The second edition of Frontier is due out, I believe, here in April at some point. This isn't just a magazine, it's a movement about truth. It's a great magazine. You'll love it on your coffee table. I got my second copy back here on my desk. It's for members only, it's members only content. Head over to blazeunlimited.com/fearless. Use the promo code BLAZE500 for $40 off your subscription. Don't miss it. Get it right now. Get this now. Frontier Magazine 2. I just very quickly, just because I just want to make sure I've done anything and cover everything so I can leave this alone or move on. I really can't leave this alone because I think this is going to be an ongoing conversation, that this PSYOP isn't over. We're just at the beginning of it, and the PSYOP is the aftermath of Carmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf. It's not the event, it's the aftermath that's being used to divide us. Make us lean into our own understandings, make us see ourselves as in some kind of black-white racial conflict rather than a culture war. And we all need the courage to stand up to these wicked, evil cultures that are leading us astray and putting us at each other's throats. And so, again, I've already said it, but I know exactly who I'm dealing with. I know exactly what I'm up against. I know that the people backing him will come after me and I'm not crying about any of that. I'm not, but I just, my eyes are wide open. These racial idolaters, because I've already been through this. I've had the black racial idolaters already come for me. Now it's time for the white racial idolaters to come for me. And they've come for me before, but now it's time for them to really come for me. Because I'm trying to stand in the way and trying to alert people like, hey, these black racial idolaters, white racial idolaters, they're all the same. They're ignorant. They love their idolatry. They want to defend their idolatry. They don't care about Jesus Christ. They don't care about you following Jesus Christ. They're puppets and useful idiots being used to provoke a racial conflict. And fortunately, I kind of want to say unfortunately for me, but fortunately, my life, everything God has put me through, allowed me to go through, has been about preparing me for this moment in time and for trying to convince the racial idolaters. If you're fooling yourself and thinking you're in alignment with God, you're not. I don't care how many followers you got on Twitter. I don't care how many people that follow you will do anything and attack anybody and anything. I don't care how big your church is and how many congregants are at your church. If you're in any way preaching an understanding that there's some kind of black-white racial conflict that explains everything in the world, you're out of line with that Bible that you allegedly claim. It ain't in there. You can lean into your understanding. I'm going to lean into God's truth, and I'm going to continue to preach it because it's important. And they've put a battery in the back of all these different MK Ultras, and I call them MLK Ultras, all these wannabe Martin Luther King impersonators. It's embarrassing. All to lead us astray. Them MLK Ultras are leading black people straight to hell, and the white MK Ultras, the descendants of Charles Manson. Read the book Chaos. You'll be shocked. You'll be like, oh, now I understand these influences. Now I understand these people that seem to be above the law while claiming victimhood and oppression while promoting a racial conflict. It's been going on for years. This playbook is old. Ain't nothing new but the doers. Hope that helps. I hope that blesses you all. Go to fearlessrollcall.com. I want you here in Nashville. I want the people here in Nashville to come out and experience roll call. I've used the promo code 997, VIP events, half off. Promo code 997. Want you here. Even if it costs me money, I want you here. Play tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow.
Freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all this moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'm breaking my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, no deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want freedom. I wanna be, I wanna be, I just